I wanted to just lay out the basics of what we ought to be doing to get out of this pickles. And I actually think that school is the thing that we should be shooting for. We should be shooting to be in a situation where we can afford to open up school on the far side of this.
Okay.
And so, I mean, it's very simple. You need to tell us that we're going to lock down at the maximum possible level for something like 6 weeks, right? Now, obviously, it can't be 100%. You have to be able to go to the hospital. But by and large, if we had enough warning, people could stock up. Whatever financial resources were necessary in order to allow people to stock up could be generated. And then it's a question of, if you have spent time at the beach, you hold your breath and you go under the wave, right? 6 weeks or something of the maximum conceivable, the maximum plausible lockdown that causes the virus to bounce whatever routes it has and burn itself out for the most part. It won't be 100%, but it will be close, right? And then intense testing and tracing on the far end with dealing with flare-ups as spot fires, basically. And I would say, if this can't be done at a national level for some reason, and frankly, it was the right thing to do months ago, and it remains the right thing to do even though it's now harder, then it is not inconceivable to me, at least, that individual states could decide to solve their problem. And the difficulty with that is then they have to police their borders, right? And that may not even be constitutional, because the nature of our federation is that citizens can move freely between the states. But at some level, if this is an epidemiological crisis, just the same way that crises result in a modification of the way we see your constitutional rights in general, we might have to do something. And a state that doesn't want to be dragged down by a country that can't figure out how to do a lockdown might decide, you know what, we're going to solve it in Montana, right? We're going to solve it in Oregon. And then, imagine the following thing. Look, folks on the right typically are the ones advocating the laboratory of the states as this great idea. I'm often skeptical of it because of the bad game theory. But imagine the good game theory, the race to the top that emerges if a state figures out how to solve this problem and suddenly that state gets to go back to work, right? Imagine the advantage to the state that figures out how to solve this problem. The kids get to go back to school. The workers get to go back to work. The economy fires up in this state, that state, and the other states have to follow suit. So, at some level, laboratory of the states is often a catastrophe with respect to things like taxes, where we race to the bottom and nobody can collect the taxes to do the basic stuff. But in this case, it could be race to the top, and we should seriously consider it. All right, this is a very long pause.
Yeah, no, we've talked about this, and what I said earlier is true. It's, if it was too late then, it's even more too late now. And yet it's also true that I have the extraordinarily human reaction of, oh my God, no, like we can't. But I also know that we won't. And that's mitigating my reaction, which is awful, because the mitigation of the reaction is just an understanding that this is like politically non-viable.
Well, so here's the thing, right? It's still summer in the Northern Hemisphere, and lockdown could mean go outside, right? Lockdown doesn't have to. Lockdown in the winter. Look, I think we got away with something at the tail end of the last cold season.
I guess. So if lockdown were smarter, right? So in, I don't know if it's Portland or all of Oregon, again, just because it's the place where we live and so we know best. All the public swimming pools are closed when there is, again, effectively no or very little evidence that water becomes infected when you swim in it, and that you can get COVID-19 from swimming in a pool, even with someone who's infected, unless again, it's airborne at you. And we should be opening up that stuff, even as and I guess Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has just as of yesterday maybe closed down all bars again and all indoor seating in restaurants. They did 3 counties in California, including the one that my mother lives in, were the first to close down anywhere in the U.S. And California locked down pretty effectively shortly thereafter. But then they opened up and things went haywire. But the entire thing was just this half-assed mosaic of, oh, we're going to close down beaches. Why are you closing down beaches? What is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Like, don't close down the beaches. Don't close down the pools. Don't close down the nature areas. Don't close down Columbia River Gorge. Many of the waterfalls. You can't go to waterfalls at Columbia River Gorge still. This makes no sense. So we can say that at the same time that we can say, even though I hate it, we may just need more lockdown, but not dumb lockdown.
Lockdown needs a rebranding, I have to tell you. I've felt from the beginning that term, it has this prison connotation. And it's got, I don't know what the right version of this is, but the Northern Hemisphere, the sun is shining. We could do this such that we spend time outside. We check back in with stuff that matters, with family. We could commune over the internet. I mean, what a marvelous tool this is. If you're going to be locked down, you can still talk to people globe-wide. We have to understand, look, we've got advantages. Let's draw on them now, and let's do what needs to be done so we can drive this thing to extinction, because otherwise we're just going to be stuck with this puzzle for who knows how long. And believe me, you do not want to get this thing and get better based on what that looks like.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous.
Yeah.